good people? Marcus Octavian here, and today just wanted to make a small video about personal finance. So I've titled this Personal Finance 101, even though we don't use that system here in England. You know, it's basically a video for people who are looking to take control of their finances and may have never tried to before. These are just the absolute basic stuff that for me got me started on the road to making sure that I was taking care of my personal finances. And so the advice is really straightforward. It's not going to take very long to run through. And then following that, I'm going to take you through a personal bit of budgeting technology that I've created. It's just a Notion page that does automatic addition and summation for your monies. Okay, dog. As you might be able to tell, I'm kind of new to this talking to the camera thing, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Okay, let's just get on with it. Essentially, what I would tell you is that the number one piece of advice that you should start using as somebody who's looking to take control of their finances is you should not be using just one bank account. That is the absolute bare minimum of starting to change your financial situation. Now, the reason that using just one bank account to control all of your finances is that it gives you a very unclear picture of actually how much money you have at any given time and how much of it's available to deploy for the right things. When you separate your finances, it gives you a much clearer picture of how much money you actually have and what it's needed for, and ensuring that there's adequate amounts for all of those needs and purposes. So what the way I'll illustrate this is when you first get paid, it's like a big lump sum. However, there's certain amounts of those that lump sum that are already spoken for. Now, if you have it all in one place, it makes it hard for you to visually understand and therefore allows the chances of overspending on certain areas. Now, the areas of overspending that most people are gonna have is the things that you want to buy for yourself outside of your financial commitments, like your rent and your bills. When you separate your money into separate accounts, the way you view that money is more purposeful. The four categories that I would separate them into is your direct debits. In America, you'd refer to this as auto pay bills. And then your next one's going to be your food. After that's going to be your fun expenditure. So that's just expenditure on anything you want that is not your priorities. And then the last one is savings. Now, savings doesn't have to be entirely separate. You can actually have a sub account with the first one, but the bare minimum that you should have is three. Now, the caveat with that is you should not be paying for any of your bank accounts. You are doing a favor for the bank by parking your money with them. It should not cost you any money to do that. Now, especially in this day and age, there are plenty of free online bank accounts that you can sign up for. Sign up for three different ones with three different companies is what I would advise you, because it then gives you some breathing room should anything happen with any individual bank, that you don't lose complete access to having money altogether. Now, the second thing that goes hand in hand with that is obviously having a budget for your finances. Now, the thing about this is I started to take account for my money by having a notebook, and I would manually write down all of my expenses, my income for that month, and then manually do subtractions every single time, and then get to the final amount where I paid off all my bills and then had some money left over that was for savings and fun. Now, what I've done is I've created a Notion page that takes this into now, what I've done is created a Notion page that does this automatically, so you don't have to worry about doing all of that. You can just set up your expenses and then have just a few inputs that change over the month, but then it also gives you a record of where you can then have a record of your finances going forward. Yep, let's take a look at that Notion page that I've created, guys. Okay, and welcome to the budget tracker. So it's really straightforward. I've tried to make it as easy as possible for myself and therefore for you guys as well. So to start off with, the first thing that you're going to do is hit new month. This new month button creates the entirety of the tables that you're going to need to keep track of your budget for the whole month. So if we press new month, as you can see here, it creates the new page. And all right, and so we've got a couple of sections here that we will be looking at. First thing I always do once I've hit new month is change the date. So we can put in January for that. Okay, and then here is an example table of expenses that you'd have on a monthly basis. Now, to be able to edit this table, all you have to do is click the edit button here, and then you can go in here and make it fit to your expenses. So, for instance, here we change this to rent, and then we can change this to and so on and so forth. And then once you've completed that table, if you click on done, and then the next time that you press new month, it's going to come up with exactly the changes that we've made. And therefore, you don't have to put your expenses in every single month. So again, I use this table here for my fixed expenses because I know I'm going to be paying my rent every single month, obviously paying my house bills every month, phone, gym, everything that I have that is a regular expense that I know every single month is going to be on there. So then I put that on there. And then if you have some ad hoc expenses, you can add them on the end. I've got a thing for descending cost orders. So like I start with the highest expense and then work my way down. And so if I have an expense during the middle of the month or if I have an ad hoc expense, then I'll just add it in the appropriate place. Okay. So as you can see at the bottom of that table, it's already automatically summed that. And if you click on new page, then you can add an ad hoc expense. So I'm going to add expense 10. And let's just say that's £10. And as you can see, it's already added that to the table. So if we get rid of that, delete, automatically summed it up. So it just makes life so much easier, so much smoother. And then over here, we've got the income table. So let's just put an average amount for like the UK, which is about 1,600. Okay. And then if you've got any income from side hustles, if you add that, again, automatically summed up. So it just makes life straightforward and easy to keep track of your finances, which is the most important thing. If things are straightforward, it means that, there's a lot less friction towards you being able to do it. And it just means you're more likely to stick with it. Okay. Now, over here where it's post bills expenses, I usually would put, okay, let's take one more step back. So we've got our income here, and then on this table here, we put the income. So our grand total is 1,900. Okay. And then over here, we take the total, which is our expenses, which is our fixed expenses, and maybe some of our ad hoc expenses. But I try and keep my expenses fixed over here. So we can say it's 1,208.91. And as you can see here, automatically again, it's already done some calculations for us. Based off our income and bills, this is how much we have left over. Now, I tend to put the fun expenditure on the post bills expenses. Now, that's just for tracking because, like I said, if you're using the advice that I've just given you, which is to have separate bank accounts, you're going to have somewhere that you can keep an eye on it. But I choose to do it this way just because it's just one more way that I can keep an eye on things. Okay. So in post bills expenses, it's essentially the same sort of table as this one. So I would say, like, for instance, let's say we've put away about 300 into our savings. So then I would come over here, new page. This is going to be where we put the fun expenditure money. So we'll say it's 300. We've put away 300 for our savings, or 391. Okay. And then over here, new page. This is just going to be a list table. And this is where I'd put, like, make the expenditure that I'm using for fun. That's just for keeping track of it. Again, like I said, if you've separated your money and you've got a budget, then this is just one extra step of helping you stay aware of even how much fun money you've still got left. Now over here, as the auto pays are coming out of my account, I've added another section here so that you can see what's been paid. So have a look inside your banking app, and once something's paid, just come over here, hit paid as it's coming along, bam. And then that way, when you open your Notion and have a look at what's going on a daily check-in for just a couple of minutes, you can check what's been paid off, what's still to be paid. And now the amount that this is summed up as, which is my monthly expenses that are non-negotiable, like I've just got to pay these expenses, is how much I would put into the first account. So in my direct debit account, where my auto pay bills or direct debits come out, I would put exactly that amount, because I know that's exactly how much needs to come out. And then into a second account that I use purely for doing my food purchasing, I'd put the amount that I would put for my monthly budget. Mine is actually 360, so it just put, and then I would transfer exactly 360 into that account. Um, and then within that account, I would divide it up into pots per week. So I'd have a main pot. That's the one that my when I go shopping, I'll tap my card or insert my card. In the UK, it's mostly tap, and then I'd add the following amount the next week. So if we do 360 divided by 3, or to be honest, is actually 400 now. Um, so 400 is going to be my per week, my monthly budget, and then I just divide that 400 by the amount of weeks that it's going to be in that month, and then I'd put the exact amount that I'm going to use for the week into the main pot. So, for instance, with my bank account that I use for my food spending, you can, like, partition the money. So I only transfer exactly how much I'm going to use for that week, and that's a further way that I can stay on point, because I know I can't just rinse it all out. I have this much to use this week, and then I only transfer the next amount for the next week, and then so on and so forth. So it's a further way of making sure that like, you just don't have 400 to use. You've got this much to use this week, and that helps you stay on budget further by being more precise about how much money is actually available for you to deploy. Okay, so going back to this section again one more time. So we've said we've had 300. Like, I'll come over here and let's just say I bought some stuff from. Um, I buy music equipment, although that being said, it's a little bit more expensive than this. But let's just pretend it costs that much. Let's say I've bought like a little synthesizer, even though they don't cost £50 a synth. I'll put that there, and then I'll put the amount that I spent, and we're just doing, for the example, is 50. And so then I would take this 50, and I'll just come over here, and I'll hit 50, bam, and then I know my fun money. I've got 200 left. I've spent 50. I buy another thing. Let's say I buy some shoes this month. Shoes, 75. Bam. Oh, sorry. 75, and then I'll just come over here and I'll change that summation. So it's 125 now. Bam. I know I've got 175 left for the rest of the month with my fund spending. And that's it. It's a really simple tracker. And now when the month is completed, I've got an archive here that I use. So I've already created a way to you can archive these. So what I'll do is I will highlight all of this. Bam. Okay, once it's all highlighted, you can drag it down and insert it on the template. So now it's actually, ooh, I had something else on there as well. Let's delete that. Okay, so it's on the template now. And then I can just drag and drop this template onto this page. And then when I go into the page, I have renamed this January. And all of my expenditures from January are in one spot. And then I just keep doing the same thing as the months are going along. So I'll show you another example. So it's a new month. I hit new month. Well, imagine that we're in February. Okay, so we just change that to February. Okay. And then to do that again, I'll just duplicate this. Yeah, you want to basically duplicate it before you add the next month. And then that way you could just go over here and say, okay, we're done doing February stuff. February. And then just the same thing. Just highlight the whole thing. Go back to the top. Drag it from the corner. Insert it into February. And then insert February into there. And then when you click into here, you've got an organized way that you can see your past expenditure, okay? All right, let's get rid of that one. Boom. And then just do the same again for the next month. As you can see here, just nice and clear, easy, simple. And that's the way I essentially do my monthly budget every single month. On payday or a couple of days before payday, I just look at my pay slip. I'll insert how much in my income. I'll tabulate how much money I'm making from my side hustles, add that to that as well. And then from that point on, it's literally just checking in on it. I kind of do it daily. Essentially, I just have 10 minutes per day where I look into how much I've spent from my fund money, if at all, adjust that, and that's about it. And just keep an eye on it. Aside from that, I don't add any of my food spending to like the tab because I just feel like that's unnecessary. I've already got the budget for that, and then within that budget, I have my weekly amount. And as long as I'm sticking to this is how much I have to use for the week, which I do because I meal prep, then there's really no need to add that to this. This is just for making sure that you handle your main money correctly and your fund money. All right, guys. So this is available on Gumroad, and I've made it available for just £1, which is the equivalent of $1.50. Now, the reason I've done it so low is because at the end of the day, I really would just hope that this will help somebody improve their financial situation, or at least make that first step towards having like a solid foundation in your personal finances. So it is as affordable as it can be, because I think, you know, regardless of your situation, I'm pretty sure that you can afford $1.50, $1.70, or £1. Like I said again, for me, the most important thing is making it as affordable so that anybody who's made that decision that they want to take their personal finances seriously is going to be able to access this tool. Okay, guys, that is it. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I also wanted to add, if you are interested in meditation or affirmations, I also have a affirmation track, and meditation audios that you can download from Gumroad. I'm making these more frequently now, so you're gonna see a lot more of those coming up. Okay, guys, that is it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.